there are 3 things we all should do every day. If we do this every day of our life, you're going to have, what a wonderful, number 1 is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number 2 is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number 3 is you should have your emotions moved to tears. Could be happiness or joy. But think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, you're going to have something special.
This one's a very interesting story for me because sometimes things are meant to be, and this is one where I believe that to be true. So Johnny had just graduated college, Tufts. He was getting ready to go into a master's program at Berkeley, and he was kind of thinking of expanding. He's always one that goes deep, and we have a great relationship, and he goes deep. And so one day he said, "Dad, I think I'm interested in joining Masonry." I said, "Oh, that sounds good." He says, "You should go to the lodge with me." I said, "You got to be kidding me. I don't join anything. You got to be nuts." He says, "No, I think you'd be interested in it. I think you'd like it." So when my son was preschool, my wife was thinking about going back to work, and she says, "I don't want to go back to work. I want to stay here with our kid at the time." And I says, "Okay, well, we'll just figure out how to do it. We'll just tighten our belt and we'll make it work." And so that's what we did. Johnny's growing, it's preschool time, and we're thinking we should have some more social engagement. Let's put him into preschool a couple of days a week. So we did St. Anne's School in Laguna Niguel, and so he went to preschool, and he loved it, and it was really good. And interesting thing was that the chaplain was Father Jack Hennings, who taught Bible stories with sock puppets. And Johnny just loved that. And so when it came time for him to go to public school, because we couldn't afford St. Anne's, it was like crazy expensive. We have great public schools. And my wife takes him down to Bergeson Elementary, which is right down the street from us. And she goes, "Well, Johnny, what'd you think of Bergeson?" And he says, "Well, I like it, Mom, but where's the chapel?" And so my wife, Lorelei, says, "Oh boy, that's a wake-up call for me." So that was an important part of his St. Anne's experience that he wanted to keep. And we weren't religious people. We didn't have a church that we went to. And so my wife's flipping through the yellow pages, if you remember what yellow pages were. Most of you don't. But flipping through the yellow pages, she was raised Episcopalian in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And so she looked for the local Episcopal church, Faith Episcopal Church. She calls it up, and lo and behold, the minister of that's Father Jack Hennings. So it's like, okay, well, that makes that easy. That's a drop-in, no-brainer, right? It's like, okay, well, this was meant to be. So it's Faith Episcopal Church, which is the church he founded. So fast forward a few years, Jack gets sick and has blood cancer that nearly killed him. And so he disappears from the church. We lost connection with him, and so my wife never lost connection with Faith Episcopal. She still works there today, and she's kind of a rock since that day. And so fast forward to Johnny saying, "Oh, let's check out this Masonry thing." He just Googles, what's the local Mason? He likes the website of 672. And he calls up, and I think Bob Feltz was the secretary, and Bob connects him to somebody. And so Johnny gets a call, and Johnny says, "Hey, my name's Johnny Auld, and I'm interested in Masonry." And a voice on the other end of the line says, "Well, I know you." And it was Jack Hennings. And that's the craziest story, that in a 15-year time frame, we'd lost track with him. Maybe it wasn't 15 years, maybe it was 10 years, but we'd lost track with him. And serendipitously, we end up in the lodge. So that was an immediate connection. So we walk in together, first time, Johnny and I. First person we met was John Grace. sitting at the door, and it was very welcoming, and it just felt like coming home. I think that one of the things for me, I think Masonry is a place where it's not just Masonry. I think the people that are attracted to Masonry make it a place where it's open arms, open heart, open mind. And those are all things that are important to me. And so we were initiated together. We were went through second degree together. My son has a crazy bent and wanted to be in the Middle East. So when he was signing up for Berkeley, he says, "Oh, Dad, I want to do my internship in the Middle East somewhere." And so he connected with to do a summer program in Beirut, Lebanon, looking at the antibiotic resistance to urinary tract infections among the Syrian and Palestinian refugees in Beirut, Lebanon. So it's like, okay, well, let's get you to Master Mason. So if anything goes bad, you hopefully will have a lifeline, because we're a long ways away. We can't help you. So anyway, so he went through Master Mason first, and then he did his thing. I, of course, went through Master Mason later, and it was just a drop-in fit for me. It's funny because I, as I said, didn't have much religion growing up, but I felt like I was spiritual. I knew I had the way that I thought about people, the way I treated people. In my mind, I knew there was more. I grew up in a Nazarene church, which was a very fundamentalist, hellfire and brimstone church. My sister went to a Nazarene college. She couldn't wear a sleeveless dress, or that was a sin, and she'd go to hell. She couldn't play cards. That was a sin, and she'd go to hell. You had to repent and cast off all your sins, or you go to hell. And so it's like every path that wasn't this very narrow path was a trip to hell. And I thought, I don't know that I buy that. And if there is a loving God and there's St. Peter at the gate, I think I'll probably slip by and get in there, because I'm a good person and I treat people with respect, and I have a lot of compassion for people, and all of those things, all of the qualities. I rejected the church and kind of found my own way through, and always questioned some of the organized religions, because it's easy to see how humans screw up good things. And my view was that it's a vast universe out there that we know nothing about. So why is it that we think we have the audacity to try to presuppose and say, this is the way things are, and if you don't believe this, this is absolutely wrong? And I just didn't, it's not something that resonated with me. So I constructed all of these theories about how the world really was, and I absolutely believe there is a higher power that is well beyond us. And if we look, if you think about when religions are created and what drives them, those are human constructs. And as humans, we have limited senses. And every time we expand one of those senses, it opens up new worlds that changes the way we think about things. So if you think about the origin of religions, that was thousands of years ago, it's by humans that were interpreting things at the time that they couldn't explain, and they put it down, and then that becomes the truth, the gospel, and you either live by that or die by that. But then the perception changes, so you can't do that. So, long story, but when I got to Masonry, it was like, okay, these are my people. There's a lot of people that think like me. Finally, I can be honest, because you can't talk about that stuff openly. There's no place you can talk about that. You're judged immediately. You can't talk about it in church. You don't talk about that stuff at work. And so there's no place that you can be open and express your feelings and think outside of whatever parameters, whatever world you are bound by, that's open to that, except Masonry. And I think that for me that was like,
There's one question I have. I'm so amazed by this relationship that you and your family have with Worshipful Jack Hennings, and I've always looked at you as the thing about Masonry beyond the ritual, beyond the fellowship, beyond all that. For me, is as a young father having a young son, is I'm able to talk with brothers that are dads and have sons or daughters that are they have some years on me. They're from the future.
mm-hmm,
So I think knowing the man that you are, and I've known you at least 10 years at this
mm-hmm,
point, and knowing that you were able to, like, through your relationship with the church in the past,
mm-hmm,
and then having Johnny go to
mm-hmm,
this preschool, and there being a brother Mason there, and you having this unique, harmonious relationship with a stranger,
mm-hmm,
basically, that had really the same merit
mm-hmm,
at the end of the day. It's just so phenomenal. And
mm-hmm,
then that that experience of being able to come back and knock on the door, and then that gentleman is there,
mm-hmm,
standing there. That just must have been
mm-hmm.
absolutely wild.
It was amazing. It
And
was very amazing. Yeah,
what is it like being in the lodge with your son? What is that?
it's awesome. Johnny and I in Masonry, he's incredibly intelligent, and he looks at the world in a very open, and curious way to just explore multiple things. So in his exploration, I've grown. From my explorations, I've helped him. As same with my daughter Hannah, same with Lorelei. We all grow together and learn from each other. And I think that Johnny and I being in Masonry together has expanded our world even more. And we come back from an education night, or we talk about an education night that he's doing, or we talk about any of the principles, and it just gives us room to even expand what's already a great relationship, into a much better one. I relish that bond that Masonry's brought, not just to Johnny and I, but to our family, because I think the principles are rock solid, and it's all about human values, and I think that's, for me, that's what's important. On one hand, you have the the heart of Masonry. The other hand, you have the mechanics of Masonry, right? So the ritual, the regalia, that's the mechanics, and that's important. What's most important is the heart, and the mechanics can never override the heart. If you lose what we have at 672 is amazing and incredible. There's not one person that walks in the door that doesn't feel the vibrancy and the energy and the heart of this lodge. That's a fragile thing, and we, as any master, his job is to protect that heart. And it's really easy for things to get petty, and for people to get snippy or start talking about each other, and that's not what Masonry is. And if we do that, then we've lost what they are. So back to your question, I think that having the opportunity to go through that, I think, and go through the line, and I think it was exhilarating to me. I think it was an incredible honor. I think I don't think I've ever gotten as emotional or cried in front of people as much as I have in this silly lodge. From the time I did my initiate, not the what do you when you the what's
The installation?
Installation. It's like, geez, can this guy stop whimpering in front of a whole group of people? What kind of a baby idiot am I, right? It's like embarrassing. But there's something about the not just, it's not the weight of being in the East. I never felt that. It's the honor and the energy, and the you know that you're representing something for a greater good. And there's tremendous, it's very hard to explain, but there's a lot that flows through you when you're in the East that you can't explain. And I think that's where the emotion came from. I mean, in things like senior decomposition, there's a lot of memory work, there's a lot of things you do, but you don't get the gravity of what it is in the lodge, or I didn't until I was in the East. I was very fortunate when I went through and was raised a Master Mason. I had Kenneth Bennett that was in the East, and he did the long form of the ritual. And at the time, I mean, it's like you're just blown away, right? There's just so much coming at you, it doesn't register. When I went back through, and because when he did that at the end, he says, "You realize I did that for you, don't you?" And I was like, "Wow, that's a gift. That's an honor, right? From somebody who that was hugely important to him. That was his gift to me." And so, when I started learning the long form of the lecture, I realized how meaningful and deep that is. And to me, that's all of the lessons of Masonry are tied within that. The beauty is it's monitorial. Anybody can read it, and the lessons are the same. But I don't think you feel it until you're raising people, until you bring them through that. And a lot of times it's so many words that people just lose it. But occasionally it resonates with somebody, and you think, well, this is really the core of what it is. Being in the East was a huge honor to me, and a huge responsibility, but I didn't look at it as that way, because I think if you're going to lead a group of people, there's nobody easier to lead than Masonry, right? The Masons, right there. You're starting with a good group, right? It's pretty hard. Most of them aren't going to screw up. It's different than work. It's different than any other environment, right? It's different than any other club you can be in. It's like, these are hugely great people, highly intelligent, open, sincere, honest people, and all you're doing is facilitating, giving them a place where they can shine. It's pretty cool. Preserving the heart, keeping the heart, growing the heart, enabling others to grow, enabling. It's amazing to watch people that come in the door, and you see how they grow and how they mature, and how it changes their lives in positive ways. And you look at people that come in and they're not sure why they walked in the door in the first place. And then you see them a few years later, and they're just such a different, better human being, because they worked on themselves to do that. And I think that's one of the best things about this crazy fraternity that we're in is, you can be in a religion and it's all about following their rules. And in Masonry, you don't have to follow anybody's rules. It's all about following your own rules. It's all about finding your own path. I was hugely honored with a Hiram Award. I think that I love this lodge. I put a lot of effort in it because it is deeply personal to me. In this world of labels, that's where the conflict and fights come. What I love about Masonry is it's not about the labels, it's about the character. And so I love the analogy. I don't know why it resonates with me, but to me, it's like a sailboat, right? And we're a sailboat. And if you think about a sailboat, you've got the part that's above the water that is crashed by the waves and the wind, and it gets knocked about. And then you look to the keel, and the keel is this massive weight at the bottom that allows the boat to stay upright around the center of buoyancy, and it basically allows the boat to be upright. So the stronger the keel, the more stable the boat is, and the more wind it can take, the more the waves, offside waves, it can take, the more stable it is. Masonry works on the keel. It's all about the character. It's all about integrity, honesty, values, love, compassion, and that's what it reinforces. And so when your keel is strong and you have this, it doesn't matter what's happening above the water, what's happening among these, the labels and the fights and the conflicts and the social media and the rancor and all of that stuff. You can pass through all of that because you know that that's not what's important. This is a very transient life that we live, and we are not here for very long. 200 years from now, who cares who the president is? Who cares what kind of car you drove? Who cares what the baseball team was that won that year? It doesn't matter. If we think about 300 years of Masonry in the modern form, right? But of course, all of these date back to traditions much older than that. We've had Revolutionary War, we've had civil wars, we've had world wars, we had conflicts going constantly around the world. We've had massive upheavals and depressions, and Masonry survives all of that, right? Masonry continues to move. That's because it's the character. It's the human character. It's the essence of who we are. It's the spirituality that is well beyond us. What I love is that we focus on the keel, and that's what resonates with me. That's what makes it personal to me, is that when you have a rough week and you think, oh man, everything's going bad. Somebody cuts you off on the freeway. It's like, this is nothing, man. This is piece of cake, and it allows you to just cut through it and keep going on a direction, on a path that's clear and be reinforced, and you can kind of rise above the noise and be confident to do things that are right for the world as opposed to worrying about what somebody says.
What is some advice that you would give a guest knocking on the door of Masonry if they sat down with you and they're like, Worshipful Jack Auld, and they had some questions about Masonry? What is one of the things that resonates with you that you would share?
I love those conversations, right? When somebody's, why are you here? What brings you here? And you can quickly tell if what brings them here resonates. And for the most part, it's whatever this is that attracts people in the door. The most important thing is to be open and to let go of your ego and let go of those preconceived notions. And the gift that we have is that we're from every walk of life, every age, every ethnicity, and we can learn from each other. And so leave your crap at the door. Leave the biases and the anger and the hate at the door, and just come in with an open mind and an open heart to listen and be open and explore and ask questions and learn and see what that does to your inner being. If it resonates and it's something that allows you to think to grow outside of the world that you thought you were in, it served its purpose. And if it helps you have compassion and kindness towards others that you might not have, because you open up and because you realize, oh, well, this guy's from a different religion, he doesn't look like me, he's young, he's old, whatever. All of those things that if you're walking on the street, you tend to, and you just listen to the labels, you tend to be biased, right? You tend to already have preconceived notions. If you throw those preconceived notions out the door and just listen and talk, you find that we have more in common than we have differences. And when we work on what we have in common as opposed to our differences, beautiful things happen. Not only works for you with the people in the lodge, but also with the people outside of the world. You learn to associate, you quickly recognize people that that have the same character, and you gravitate towards them. Those are the people you want to spend time with. And you quickly reject those people that are hung up on the labels and want to move and do something different. Trent Rosenlieb and I have similar backgrounds. We grew up 30 miles apart in Central California. We're the same age. Our wives are the same age. They grew up close together. My wife from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Maureen was from Chicago. We were all born in the same year. We have sons that are the same age. We have daughters that are the same age. We have mothers that were the same age that had got married late in life. So many parallels. And Trent and I, when our boys were in kindergarten, our wives met, and they immediately hit it off. And so we started hanging out with them, and the kids draw you together. You end up making a lot of friends through your kids. And so Trent started going through, we went to Indian guides together, when you could call it Indian guides. We went to Indian princesses with our daughters, and we became great friends. And so when, fast forward to when Johnny is we're in the Masonry and in the lodge, and we start talking about it more. He says, well, I'm a Mason. Of course you are. It's like, there's that bond, there's that attraction. And so that bond was, of course you're a Mason. That explains all of why we connect and why we resonate with one another, because he and I have been all over the world riding motorcycles. I trust him with my life, which is something you trust every Mason with your life. You don't realize that connection. Now he hadn't been going to Masonry. He was raised, I think, in 1988, and he hadn't been there in 30 years. And so I said, all right, well, you start coming to Lodge. And but he'd paid his dues. So all he had to do was demit from his Bakersfield Lodge and affiliate here. But that bond. So back to your question, what would you say? Just let it work. Let go of our challenges with our egos. And if we cast our egos aside and let our soul and our spirit come out, that's what resonates with people, and that's where you'll find the biggest joy in what we do.
During these interviews, there's a common theme of, whether you're a young man, maybe you're a kid, a teenager, or you're an old man, meeting somebody that stands out in a world that can sometimes be chaotic, and finding someone that is peaceful or present, somebody that had an impact on you, and finding out later on that they're a Mason. And myself knowing you for 10 years, I know that there's so many people out there, Worshipful Jack, that have met you that maybe haven't found Masonry yet, but when they do, they'll be like, of course he's a Mason. And that's all I have left. I mean, unbelievable.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
You're absolute best.
My pleasure.
You're the absolute best.